Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are rejoined for the second time by Washington starting safety, Mr. Cameron Curl. Thank you for joining us tonight, Cameron. How are you doing on this beautiful, warm Friday?
I'm doing good. I'm in South Florida, so I'm doing really good. I appreciate y'all having me.
South Florida.
That sounds awesome. Great then. How's your dad doing? Your dad's our dude. Your dad's been on our podcast like 5 times.
Yeah, he good. He like talking social media stuff, so he's gonna be with y'all a lot.
and Cameron, the first question I have for you, we have to go with the one position, the quarterback position. Last week, Washington traded for quarterback Carson Wentz, and that's somebody that we are very familiar with, right? So for you as a defender, what does Carson Wentz bring? Like, as a defensive back, what kind of weapons does he have? And then what was your reaction to the trade?
I mean, just off the top, like when we played in my rookie year, like he's a big player, a big dude. So, it's gonna be tough for defense to take him down and stuff like that. But, I didn't see good film of him, we're gonna put, our trust and faith, him and folks. So, just rock with him.
Trust and faith, baby.
Yeah. It's 6'5", 240. That dude is a tank. He doesn't look that big either, but then when you see him play, you understand.
Yeah, I didn't think he was that big until he played.
Yeah, right. He's a handful. He must be a thick old boy. But so anyway, one of your good friends, one of your mentors, Landon Collins, of course. All Washington fans were disappointed. We all wanted him back here. Do you and Landon still talk regularly? And how's he seem to be doing after the release?
Ain't none of that gonna change. But, it's just wish I would have had another year with him.
Yeah.
Stuff, but I feel like I learned a lot from him while he was in the locker room and stuff like that. I'm gonna continue to learn from him. Yeah, but, it's just you can go.
Yeah, sorry. Can you just go into a little bit further detail? Like for us, like it's hard for us to kind of understand what Landon brought to you, not only as a friendship, but kind of like as a mentor, right?
Yeah, for sure. He had me over his house. I done been over his house for like treatment, like day before game type stuff, and he just always like a helping hand, you know what I'm saying? So like anything you need, you go to him, I went over there for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So
wow.
He's a real cool dude.
That's really awesome, man. And then another guy that you played right along with, Bobby McCain. You two were really a good tandem in the back end of that defense this year. What does Bobby McCain bring? And were you excited to hear that he came back? So I did see your tweet.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy he back, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like we started to gel. We started to get comfortable playing around each other and stuff. So just us having that year under our belt playing next to each other, I feel like it's going to be progress for this next season,
Yeah. Yeah. So a player like Curtis Samuel, I think, is always super interesting because Washington fans have already kind of discounting him because he was injured all last year. What is something that you think Curtis Samuel brings to this offense? Does he bring a completely different element than we have right now?
I mean, I feel like he brings a lot of speed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can see that off the tape. Speed. Somebody can stretch the defense. Vertical and side to side. So,
and as a defender, what does that do to you having to deal with somebody that's that fast?
I mean, you gotta
Is it like we would think it just sucks how they chase them around all day?
Yeah, like different angles and stuff, you got to take.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Now, Cameron, I'm not going to lie to you. I DM'd your dad, and I was like, hey, give me something I can ask Cam about that would make him laugh. And he wants me to ask you about when you were 7 years old. Apparently, you were in church, and you stood up and asked everybody to say a prayer for your dad because you wanted him to stop farting so much. Is that true?
Yeah, I feel like I remember that. I remember the stories and stuff. But yeah.
He said you were dead serious too. You weren't joking.
If a kid says that, you better believe him. Kids don't lie. They don't lie about that stuff. It's just a real issue in his life probably. And he was like, hey, you better cut that out.
I need some prayer, man.
He said he needed a prayer. That is hysterical. Now, Cam, in the offseason, obviously we talked to your dad. He said that you were working on some things in this offseason. So is there any areas of your game in particular that you're trying to get better at?
I mean, I feel like I'm working on ball skills. Really everything, just sharpening everything. You know what I'm saying? Ball skills, for I ain't getting no turnovers last year, so that disappointed me. But fine tuning everything, getting the playbook more, stuff like that.
Cam, all of us Washington fans know this, but I feel like you are probably the most underrated defensive back in the entire NFL. Like the things that you bring to the table. I mean, you man up these tight ends, these backs, these receivers. You play the run very well. What is it going to take for you to make the Pro Bowl? And what are your goals for this season?
I don't know about what's going to take me to make the Pro Bowl. I feel like I got popularity and stuff like that.
Exactly, right.
I'm not even really worried about no Pro Bowls for real. I'm trying to get to the Super Bowl.
Dude, that was the best answer.
Just goals is really just, I feel like everybody going to get to the Super Bowl, and just be better than I was last year. Help the team more than I did last year.
Yeah, and then Cameron, your rookie year, you came in and had instant success. You looked great. We all fell in love with you as a player here for Washington. 2 rookies last season that played on your side of the ball, Jamin Davis and Benjamin St-Juste. What did you think of their games and how they progressed throughout the year?
I feel like they're coming along. I feel like they got, I feel like they got a lot of raw talent, you know what I'm saying? And they got to progress, as the year went on. So I'm really just excited to see what they can do this upcoming season.
Did you see a difference in Jamin Davis's play when he moved probably closer to the line of scrimmage at that Sam linebacker spot?
I've seen him flying around the whole season, you know what I'm saying? He's a real athletic linebacker. I feel like he was making plays, sparks of plays in every game, I feel like he affected the offense. So I feel like he played a real good season.
And then what did you see out of Benjamin St-Juste? Did you like what, obviously you being a fellow defensive back, we got to see him a lot early on, and then the concussions kind of derailed his season. So what did you see of Benjamin? Do you think that he's going to be a quality professional?
Oh, yeah. I feel like even training camp, they came in OTAs and training camp, he was strapping. So we knew he was good, it's just, hopefully the concussions get better so we'll see more.
Yep, he was strapping in training camp. We saw that.
Yeah, now, as a former Arkansas Razorback, is there any players from Arkansas that you think that you would like to see on Washington this year?
All of them.
All of them, everybody? Let's just there you go.
Hey, Pro Hogs.
Hey, there you go. The Hogs, Razorbacks, I could see that connection. And hey, a little quick side question. Speaking of the Hogs, a lot of people wanted that to be the new name. How do you feel about the new jerseys and the Commanders brand?
I love them.
Yeah,
you love them, huh?
Do you?
Look good in them, so
Oh yeah, those black ones with the little camo bit on it, and then the W on the front. I'm not gonna lie, Jason Wright and them messed up picking John Allen to have the sport the black one because John Allen wears that old school helmet and it looked kind of out of place. But with the newer ones, the Rebel Flexes, the speed stuff, it looked dope. It looked really good on the new ones. Yeah, it's
something scary now, black. So.
Oh yeah, I know. I wouldn't mess with John Allen anyway. But
have you been able to see the jerseys in person? Like, have you been able to try them on?
I ain't been back to the facility since they announced it. So I haven't seen them yet.
Do you have a favorite? Are you feeling the black?
Yeah, I like the black. I like the black a lot. And then the white hard too. And then you can combinations together and stuff like that.
I was about to say, yeah, they talked about switching up the pants and stuff, like wearing the burgundy pants with the white jerseys, stuff like that. Hell yeah.
One of the funniest things I saw yesterday on Twitter, Cam, was J.D. McKissic's video that he did for the Commanders after he re-signed. We all love J.D. McKissic, the fact that he is back. What does J.D. McKissic bring from the running back spot? And did you see that video from yesterday?
Yeah. He bring, we got, AG who's going to run through some, you know what I'm saying? And JD going to make somebody miss, make somebody fall. So I feel like that's like a nice balance, and yeah, he's funny for that video.
Mm-hmm. They got that thunder and lightning feel, that old Reggie Glendale White.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was. Yeah. Oh, Kyle, you want to go ahead and rough that's my
internet. Sorry, yeah, my bad. Biggest question, Cameron. Tom Brady came back to the NFL. Are you surprised at all with the antics that he pulled?
I mean, I was kind of like, but I feel like he just want to play some more football, I guess.
Right? Yeah. He was sitting at home with Giselle, and he was like, "I can barely even understand this chick when she talks. Somebody get me out of here. Let me let me play again. I need something to do with my time."
Yeah, he got bored.
Now, Cam, two guys that left this team, Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis. Big Tim, I was a big fan of, along with Matt Ioannidis. Are those big losses for this defense?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I like the way both of those guys played, and then the locker room, the energy they brought in the locker room is gonna be missed, I'm happy for them, they're getting paid, you know what I'm saying? But, somebody's got to step up.
Yep.
But I'm trying to fix.
And then halftime, I have to ask you a question for the Dallas game at Dallas, Cam. That halftime was crazy. And because a lot of things are going on, tempers were flaring. What was halftime like for that Dallas game in Dallas?
It was a regular halftime.
It was a regular halftime? Come on.
Went back on the field.
All right. But then, all right, I'm sorry to bring this back another way, but tragedy struck this football team twice. Montez Sweat's brother being tragically taken away in the shooting. What was that like for the locker room? Did you see a difference in kind of the mood of the locker room after those occurrences?
I mean, it was just like you just start feeling for the guys, you know what I'm saying? Because, they're not really, you can't see them because they're not in the locker room. So, you just be on your mind, praying for them and stuff like that. But I feel like we did a good job, just keeping everybody spirits up and stuff like that.
And now to wrap this up, Cam, my last question for you. This past season, I would say, was a disappointment, given the fact that the first season under Ron Rivera made the playoffs. And then, obviously, we go back and miss last season. But, you want to learn from it, right? The last thing you want to do is take a disappointing season like that and then not learn anything from it. So what is your biggest takeaway from this past season to build on?
I feel like, it's just, I don't know. Because, you learn from all the losses and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, it's a new season. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to start back fresh, start back from ground zero and build up, So I'm not too worried about last season because I'm looking forward.
My man, that's the best possible answer, Mr. Curl. I can't thank you enough for coming on here and joining us, brother. I know that you're a very, very busy man and you got lots to do. I can't thank you enough, brother. I wish you all the best of luck, and I can't thank you enough for joining us again, man.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Of course, brother. Have a good night, Cam. Enjoy your Friday. All right, everybody. Woo! That was great to talk to Cam again.
Yeah. Could you hear me when I asked questions? My line kept the message kept popping up saying my audio wasn't connected.
Oh no, we could hear you fine. I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure your stuff is just
because he was
out,
like,
man.
I was like talking, he responded to it, so I was like, all right. And it sucks because I wanted to ask him about Chris Harris next, but I was
I actually wrote down a question that said, "You still love football?" Because Chris Harris is always yelling at the D-backs about that.
Yeah.
First thing I want to get into before we get into fan questions, Reed. Brandon Beane, the GM from the Bills, had a lot to say at his press conference today about J.D. McKissic and how that was handled. Just in case you guys don't know what happened, J.D. McKissic agreed to a deal with the Bills, a very favorable deal, and it wasn't bad at all. J.D. McKissic's deal, let me look at it, a 2 years, $7 million, $3.6 million guaranteed, and a $2 million cap hit this season. And we all thought that he was leaving. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, on Wednesday, he re-signs with Washington for the same exact deal that the Bills offered. And we saw in the video from yesterday on Twitter that he was very excited to do that. And then Brandon Beane comes out today and said that organization did what they had to do, or they did what they did to get J.D. McKissic back. And it's saying it was like basically bad business and it ruffled the feathers. And it's not a good look, given the fact that the Bills front office is very close with our front office. How blown away are you with that situation?
To me, it's just so stupid. Like, I get it. Like, obviously you want to play, like JD can offer an offense so much, and it's something that the Bills don't really have right now. But at the same time, like, this is basically like a billionaire complaining that he didn't win $1,000 scratch off. Like, you're fine right now. You're good. You're a Super Bowl contender. You're one of the favorites that the point, with or without JD McKissic. I know he would have offered, but you guys have already gotten Von Miller. You guys have already made some pretty crucial signings. And yeah, I understand where you can think that it's terrible, but unfortunately, until that pen hits the paper, this is the reality of it. I mean, it happens sometimes. JD wanted to be in Washington. He wanted to. It's not often that somebody says that. So he wanted to be here. You can't fault him for making that decision. You can say that we did bad business, but hey, it is what it is. There's no bad business. Okay. You either get some money or you don't. And JD wanted to be here. We ended up making an offer probably once we saw what the price was going to be. We're like, hey, all right, we can get him back. And that sucks for you, man. Get over it. Okay. This has happened a bunch this offseason. You talked about Zadarius Smith and the Ravens. You talked about Randy Gregory and the Cowboys. So it's one of those things, man. It happens. Get over it and stop crying and go win a Super Bowl. You know?
Yeah. And this is the full quote on losing JD McKissic. This is Brandon Beane, the Bills GM. That was tough. His agent did a great job. There were some things that went down with the other organization, which is painful. They chose to do what they did. And what the rumor is that our front office told the agent of JD McKissic that we did not want him back at all. And I find that those are from sources, and I find those questionable at best, right, given the fact that we've heard from Michael Phillips of the Richmond Times-Dispatch saying that even going as far as saying Ron Rivera and J.D. McKissic are soul brothers. And then seeing the video yesterday of J.D. McKissic being so excited to be back here. He chose us over the Bills. Do you really think that it wasn't like they took a gun and put it to J.D. McKissic's head, right? Right. Because Washington went into this free agency with J.D. McKissic, and Michael Phillips told us this as well, that Ron wanted JD to go see what he could get. And whatever he was offered, bring it back to us, and let's see if we could counter that. And that's how I'm seeing the situation, is that counter offer never came back. And that's why I'm kind of calling bullcrap with all of it, because it just doesn't make any sense that Washington wouldn't want J.D. McKissic back at all at some point.
Right. Yeah. He was too essential to this offense. I don't believe that for a second. We just were like, no, cool. Yeah, dude, go do your thing. Do you. Proud of you. Hey. And they even said that we congratulated him after he signed his contract with the Bills, that we called them to congratulate him. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah. And then Sal Cappuccino, a former guest of ours for the Bills. He covers the Bills up there up north. The quote said, in fact, a source said Washington outright told his agents they did not want him back at all prior to his agreement to terms with the Bills. This is all just ridiculous, personally. I think it's really stupid. The other one was the Matt Ioannidis one, where his agent said that Washington lied to his face, and meaning that at the combine, Washington brass told the agent that Matt Ioannidis was safe for now. What did you think of that?
No, I mean, I think you said it best. Like, if somebody comes up to you, if your boss comes up to you and is like, yeah, you're safe for now. Yeah, for sure. You better start working as hard as you possibly can and doing everything right, because things can change in an instant. For now, right now, at this exact moment, yeah, you're good. And plus, it's been rumored for weeks that Matt Ioannidis could be a casualty. He could be a cap casualty. So we had to have semi-seen this coming a little bit, and it sucks because we love Ioannidis, but it just is what it is. He
had a low down year last year. Did not perform as well as we were used to after the injury from 2 seasons ago. But yeah, essentially what my point was, if you ask your boss, hey, is my job safe? And then he says, for now, that's probably the best time for you to start submitting your resume. And so I understand you're saying they lied to our face, but they told you the truth for now. Yeah. But that could change at any time. You know what I'm saying? So you as his agent, you should be dotting your I's and crossing your T's to make sure that you have backup plans in place just in case it happens. And then complaining to the national media that Washington lied to your face. For now, he didn't lie to your face because he told you for now, yeah, you're safe. And that changed very quickly, and you should have known that. And so I just think it's funny that they're blaming Washington for this, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Because losing Tim Settle to the Bills was hard to do, especially for the deal that he signed for. It was very cheap. I thought that we could have done well with that, but I understand why they did it. I mean, letting go of Matt Ioannidis, that saved $6.8 million in cap space. So they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to save some money right now, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, look, you designated Landon Collins as a June 1st cut. That's basically the money that you're going to save is basically going to be the money that we can use to sign the draft picks with his money. So until then, you have some cap room to kind of wiggle with and play with now. And it does suck, but if you can go out there, like we got an Andrew Norwell, we wouldn't have been able to get him before. And cutting Flowers, arguably Norwell's an upgrade, despite what some fans want to hear. I mean, Norwell's been an all-pro in this league. He's still very good. He's played in 111 of 112 possible games or something like that.
That is correct.
Yeah, my numbers are on point. So it makes sense that we can still go out there and make more room. I even heard a rumor about them possibly talking with Carson Wentz about trying to trim his number down a little bit. So who knows what's going to happen, but there are ways to work around the cap. And unfortunately, it sucks. They're good players, but gotta do what you gotta
I
do.
read on Hogshaven earlier that Washington actually has an option to convert Wentz's contract to his salary to a signing bonus, and that would free up 13 mil by
Oh my
itself.
God.
Yeah, for Washington, which is obviously huge, and you'd want to be able to do that. Well, obviously, Andrew Norwell, he's 6'6", 325 pounds. He's a big guy. He had 9 seasons in the NFL, obviously, and like you said, he's played in 111 starts, right? His 2-year, $10 million deal, 4.7 guaranteed. He's getting paid a quarter of what Brandon Sheriff is. Now, would you say that does he play a quarter of what Brandon Sheriff does? I don't think he'd be willing to say that. And so I absolutely loved this move because Norwell obviously was drafted by Carolina. He played there from 2014 to 2017 before going down and signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he knows what Mark Matzko, the offensive line coach, wants to do. He knows what Ron Rivera expects out of his players. So that's another veteran voice to echo what Ron Rivera and the coaching staff want. So I absolutely love this deal. They got a cheaper version. Yeah, that's older, but they got a cheaper version of Brandon Sheriff. And I'd be willing to argue that the drop-off in production is not going to be any different.
No, it won't be. I mean, if you like this offensive line, this coaching staff, whatever they're doing, the scheme, whatever it is, has really been working for the offensive line. You look at Eric Flowers, he was doing fantastic up here. He went to Miami, he really didn't play so well. Then he came back up here. He was arguably our best offensive lineman last year outside of Charles Leno, and now he's in the bricks. But I mean, hey, Andrew Norwell had his best season under Ron and Co. So I really think that they got something going here. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and Bobby McCain's deal is 2 years, $11 million with 3 void years, $3.5 million signing bonus, and his cap hit for this season is $1.2 million. They also released Eric Flowers. That was a huge surprise to everybody. And I think that it was initially for me, but I understood why. Just by relieving Eric Flowers, it's $10 million off the cap. By releasing Matt Ioannidis, that was $6.8 million off the cap, and then taking care of Landon Collins, who has the post June 1st cut designation. That would save Washington $11.9 million. So already that's $28 million saved from those 3 players leaving. And I know that we're all going to kind of be like, man, those are some valuable players walking for nothing. And is there some stock in that? 150%. But we also have to remember there's a compensatory pick coming for Brandon Sheriff next season. So one of those thirds when Carson Wentz is coming back. And speaking of Carson Wentz, let's go to our fan question.
He's up now. Oh, I thought you were about to say he's coming. He's here now.
No,
we're having him on.
We are joined. We are joined. Our first question is from the Colonel. Now the initial Carson Wentz shock has worn off. I'm trying to see everything in the best light. The sudden loss of our salary cap for one player cost us some unexpected losses. Seems to me that trading back is obvious. We need the extra picks. To repeat a question from last week, but under new circumstances, is there a single player that we would unhesitantly grab at 11, no question, that we would not want to trade back from?
That's tough to say when you really look at the roster. I mean, obviously, I think you would, like we've talked about before, Kyle Hamilton or like a Sauce Gardner, they're just too good and too valuable. But like, if you look at this draft is edge rusher and tackle heavy at the top. And those guys really, I mean, if you look at our roster right now, those aren't any glaring needs. So I think unless Kyle Hamilton or Sauce Gardner is available there at 11, I think trading back is a definite possibility.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I obviously if Kyle Hamilton's there, you run up the card and everything. And 11 started to get really tricky now. I mean, even defensive tackle, you could make an argument that maybe they shouldn't invest in now that obviously with Matt Ioannidis leaving and Tim Settle. But they did re-sign Daniel Wise, who was very, very good in relief last season down the stretch for this football team, especially on that defensive line. He was a force.
Yeah, but the thing they can for sure upgrade over Daniel Wise or any of these guys. I mean, that's the thing. I've done like 17 mock drafts over the last 2 days. At pick 113, that's where it starts to get tricky, and you could honestly see us taking a defensive tackle because really after that, this is a deep top heavy class where like the first 3-4 rounds, it's some good guys. And then the production and the ability kind of falls off. So if you want to get that third defensive tackle, somebody that can rotate with John Allen and Deron Payne, which you need now, you might have to take them relatively early, but I still think the first 2 rounds, it's wide receiver, then either linebacker or safety or vice versa. But don't be surprised. Defensive tackle makes its way up there.
Yeah, because you really never know. We always think that we have a gauge on what this football team is doing. And
I know.
The Wentz deal always just throws us to the wayside, right? So obviously that's indication enough that we don't know what the heck we're doing. But the next question from the Colonel: has anyone considered what Carson's arm strength may mean for Dyami Brown and Cam Sims' development? Obviously, Cam Sims was brought back on a 1-year deal, $2.59 million deal with $2 million guaranteed.
So yeah, that's a very good question. That's something that I had been thinking about. So obviously, Dyami Brown, we know that he really shined last year, and a little bit, as much as he did. I mean, it wasn't much, but when you saw good things from him, it was deep down the field. I'll say that. And Carson Wentz, of course, Terry, these receivers are all going to be happier. Cam Sims is interesting because if you look at Carson Wentz, he's had success with bigger receivers. I mean, you look at Alshon Jeffrey, you look at Michael Pittman Jr. And so you kind of want to give him a big target, somebody that he can go with. And that's almost why I've been kind of, if I've traded back in the first round or even sometimes at 11, depending who's there in a mock draft, I'll give us Drake London or somebody like that. But size shouldn't be the only issue. I mean, there's better receivers there. It just depends on how stuff plays out.
Was
But I hope
Alshon Jeffrey there for Carson Wentz's second year?
Yeah. He was there for he was there for both his rookie and sophomore year, I believe. But yeah, Alshon, I mean, Wentz has never had a 1,000-yard receiver, but I mean, Alshon was a favorite target of his.
Yeah, it was. I was just speaking on the bigger wide receiver to your point there, and how well he can do well with those guys. And I think Dyami Brown, obviously in particular, will do a lot better with Carson Wentz being able to stretch the field, because he really does cater to Terry McLaurin's strengths. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, some of those catches he had deep downfield, it almost reminded me of Terry. How, like, you know, he has the contested catch, he still comes down with it, and you're like, how does he do that? And it kind of reminded me of Terry. And obviously we heard from Logan Paulson in episodes past that Terry McLaurin's strengths is deep downfield. And obviously that's the same with Dyami Brown. So obviously Carson Wentz's arm strength is really going to go into the cater to their strengths as well. But I think out of any player, Colonel, I think Antonio Gibson is really going to benefit from Carson Wentz. And I said it last episode, his arm strength, being able to stretch the field, defenses have to honor the ability of the quarterback to hit that 60-yard bomb at any time. So that's going to open up space for Antonio Gibson. He's not going to have to face the 8-man fronts constantly. There's not going to be defenses that are going to say, yeah, I'm not scared of your deep ball. I'm going to play you, man. And that was hard for Antonio Gibson to run the ball with facing those fronts. So I think Antonio Gibson, out of any of those players, is really going to benefit the most from Carson Wentz's arm strength.
Sure. Yeah, him. And I think you can also look at Logan Thomas, depending on how he comes back, how he recovers from this injury, because, I mean, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, and then you had Mo Alley Cox and why can't I remember his name right now? Jack Doyle last year. And I mean, Carson Wentz likes his tight ends. Yeah, not that one. That one's always injured.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But with Cam Sims, Colonel, I think that there is a huge upside with it. And I think that Carson Wentz being brought here is a big reason why that they brought Cam Sims back. And obviously, they might have probably been already looking to bring Cam Sims back, especially on a favorable deal like this. But we saw in the Dallas game where Taylor Heinicke escapes and spins out of the pocket, throws that ball to Cam Sims, and Cam Sims snatches it away from Trayvon Diggs in the end zone. It still blows my mind that the refs didn't call that a touchdown.
Right.
Because anybody in the NFL, it happens all the time. They know that if you call a scoring play, it's automatically reviewed. So, but they didn't call it a touchdown. So we had to challenge it for it to be a touchdown, which is ridiculous because any ref is going to say, yeah, do it. But going back to the question, Cam Sims obviously on that play showed you what he can do at contested catches deep downfield. He's a big body, and defensive backs normally aren't that big. So he's a mismatch deep downfield. Obviously, that caters to Carson Wentz's strength. So you're absolutely right. Those guys by themselves, their potential is going to be elevated because of Carson.
And the thing about Cam Sims is he's obviously doing something right, or this coaching staff, the last 2 coaching staffs know something about it because he keeps getting brought back. They keep bringing him back despite, I mean, there was that one preseason where he went off, and he's been a solid player for sure. He's definitely been a solid player, but I mean, there's a reason that they keep bringing him back here. They really like him. I mean, and you saw that with the last coaching staff into this coaching staff. And like, so this guy's a good player, and I want him to hurry up and break out. I would kill to see Cam Sims be an elite 6'5" receiver. And I hope it happens eventually, but it probably won't. But hey, man can dream. You know?
Yeah, and I thought that he proved himself last season. He was worthy of the contract being re-signed. I think that what he did last season should be celebrated and should be rewarded. Now let's move to our questions in the Discord chat server. First one is from our guys Jeff Miles. He wants to know, Reed, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you feel about the team right now?
I a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to go with a 7 just because, and that's pretty high. I mean, I'm very confident with the way that we are headed. I trust Ron Rivera and co to bring in the right guys to make a move. I mean, like everybody wants to complain about the free agency thing and how we haven't brought in any free agents. Ron Rivera and co, like how I'm just going to be completely honest, and something that I've been looking at, how often do big name free agents pan out? Not very, they really don't, especially with us. I mean, with our franchise historically, it's God, it used to be a joke that if you're a free agent, you had to stay away from Washington.
Right.
And so that I'm okay with. I trust that if they see somebody who's mid-level to lower that they want to bring in, they think can play, I trust that they'll be able to play. I mean, you look at some of the guys we've signed, and I really think that in the draft, if we're going to address wide receiver followed by linebacker or safety or whatever in round 2, I would imagine, then I'm going to be very close to confident. I think Carson Wentz is that much better than Taylor Heineke. I think his upside is tremendous. This is his last chance to be a quarterback. I think our defense is going to be a starting quarterback. I think our defense is going to bounce back this coming year. We're going to have a weaker schedule. We should. And I'm very excited for this season. But at the same time, I always have to catch myself because last season I was the same exact way. Look at what happened.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you on a scale from 1 to 10. I would say I'm about at a 6, Jeff. A little bit more than just mid, right? And it would be higher if we had more answers for the line, specifically in depth on defensive line and offensive line. Because obviously Andrew Norwell played left guard for the Jaguars. Brandon Sheriff played right guard for us. So what are we going to do there? And then
Wes Schweitzer is going to play right guard.
Right, but we also have Sadiq Charles as well, who
he's not starting over Schweitzer.
Played left guard last season. I thought that he did really, really well, but this team spent a 3rd-round draft pick on him. And I feel like they're going to be forced to play him to say, look, we got to be able to see what he can do here. We spent a 3rd-rounder on him. So I do think
it was a 4th.
Was it a 4th? I probably screwed that up.
One of those. Either way, that was just
sorry.
my talking.
Yeah, I got you. But with Sadiq, I think that they can go into training camp in a battle, especially for that right guard or left guard spot, depending on what Andrew Norwell can do, because I know he is versatile in that breadth. So I do think I feel good about it, but I would feel a lot better if we had another answer. And that's why I feel like I'm holding that out until after the draft. I don't want to judge them now because it's too early. I want to wait till after the draft so we can really look at this team. But for right now, Jeff, I'm at a 6, and I would be less if it wasn't for Carson Wentz. After looking at the tape, after seeing what he brings as a quarterback, not with all the drama circulating and everything, I'm just looking at what he can do on the field and what he brings on a play-by-play basis, and that arm strength really does wonders for this team. And scoring points is object number 1 for this team because we've seen in the past 2 seasons they haven't been able to put up more than 20 points per game consistently. And I think Carson Wentz will definitely do that. So that's why I'm at a 6 right now. But the next question from Jeff Mike, who is your favorite bust in the franchise history and why? He says, I'll go first. In recent history, I'll say Sua Cravens. I thought he was going to be a Pro Bowler for sure, especially after he won us that game against the Giants.
Well, I got a good one for this one. So I was convinced that this guy, just after his 1 season at Michigan State, Devin Thomas, I thought Devin Thomas was going to come in and be the guy had it all except for a vertical. I remember his vertical at the combine was like something like 26 inches, something ridiculous. Like, ugh. But that guy was so attractive. He was such a good looking guy. You know what I'm saying? He just always had the lights and like the face going on. I was like, that's a good looking dude. And, but he just didn't. He sucked. Him, Malcolm Kelly, Fred Davis, that draft class, man.
I'm going to cheat and say John Beck. You remember that season? That was hilarious.
Yeah.
No, but probably my favorite bust of all time is probably RG3. I know it's probably going to piss a lot of people off. But the reason why it's my favorite was just because that 2012 year. And maybe some people out there, they'll argue that he's not a bust because that 2012 year. But if you give up 3 first-round picks and you get 1 year of productivity out of that quarterback and a loss in playoffs in the first matchup, I don't think you can really consider it a success. So without a doubt, RG3 was probably my favorite bust of all time just because it started like a racial war between Washington fans, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I got blocked by Bomani Jones because of that situation. That's how much I loved it. And I didn't even do anything wrong. I just tagged Bomani and was like, remember when you said that the only reason Kirk was getting started over RG was because he was white? And it basically was proved at that point that RG was not that good anymore. He blocked me over that. I wasn't even rude or anything.
Yeah, come on, Bomani.
Right. Now, the next
More
question
like
in the
Bomani.
Discord chat server is from Sergio
myself.
Martin. Do you imagining Washington matching Cleveland's offer to get Watson?
Wouldn't that be something if they were just like, hey, by the way, it's not happening. No,
Yeah.
the Watson died as soon as we acquired Wentz. There's a little bit, I know. There was rumors going around like, well, maybe Houston really just wants Wentz and Indy didn't want to trade it, or they didn't want him to trade it to a division rival. It's not, guys. It's done. It's been done, unfortunately.
Yeah,
No chance. 0% chance.
I made that mistake way back when we traded for, or we signed Case Keenum, because I thought maybe there was a way we would trade for another quarterback with him signing, and that just doesn't happen in the NFL.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
never.
it's not like the NBA, which they do that all willy-nilly.
Or baseball. Baseball, they'll acquire a player just specifically to trade him somewhere. Like that baseball, that happens all the time, but that's because you have the minor leagues and you can kind of do that with getting away with it because there's so many players. But NFL, yeah, that never happens. That would be nice, though. That'd be awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Would be. Now, our next question is from Twitter, and our guy Nathan Coleman reached out. His question is, Reed, why don't Washington fans appreciate the acquisition and extension for Charles Leno? Leno was a preemptive re-signing of a soon-to-be free agent left tackle on a cheap deal, and not to mention a guy who had the third highest pass blocking grade among offensive tackles in 2021.
So left tackle, it's almost like cornerback in a way where you kind of forget about him. Some of these players sometimes, except for Trent. Trent's on a different level because Trent was so flashy and everybody loved Trent. But like offensive linemen and cornerbacks, if you don't hear their name called that much, that's a good thing usually. But it also kind of makes you forget about him a little bit. We don't realize how good Charles Leno was. Do you remember before Trent or whenever there's injuries, whatever it was, and after like Chris Samuels, but just being like, we don't have an offensive line. Every time our quarterback drops back, he is under crazy pressure. You didn't feel that last year at all. And it's because Charles Leno was so good and he exceeded his expectations for sure. And I thought we were going to end up eventually having to switch him inside to guard when we first signed him. I was like, he's smaller, he's older, maybe that'll but no, he was amazing. When we first signed him before he played snap, and he played unreal. I love Charles Leno. He's one of the best one of the best people in this area too. The guy gets it, and his wife's awesome. And
I think Nathan, you're absolutely right about that, because we also have to look at it in a different aspect, right? Let's just look at it from the team perspective. Imagine if they hadn't re-signed Charles Leno, right? And he's went and signed with another team, and they let go of Eric Flowers, and Brandon Sheriff's not returning. Look at that offensive line now. The only starters returning at that point, you have it's Chase Royer and then Sam Cosmi. And you could say Wes Schweitzer, obviously, but I'm not going to pencil him in as a starter because Eric Flowers
I would just imagine you would win. Right.
And Brandon Sheriff. But that would put us in a really bad spot. So the fact that they did extend Charles Leno puts his team in a very good position, not only considering the fact, Nathan, that left tackle is the most important spot on the offensive line guarding the quarterback. There's a reason why left tackles are the second highest paid position on the football team, because they protect your most valuable asset, meaning the quarterback. So I don't understand why fans aren't loving that more. I absolutely loved it when they made the decision to extend him as early as they did. It showed a vote of confidence in Charles Leno and an eagerness to bring him back here that I definitely think that he deserved when he with the way that he played last season, without a doubt.
So it's 100% being overlooked. That dude he was very consistent on that line. And having him and Norwell, but the two just experienced guys on that left side of the line, I think will be huge for people like Sam Cosmi on the other side.
Yeah. And now our next question is from Twitter, Tony Franchise. Any word on if Joey Sly is going to be re-signed? They tendered
him, right?
Yeah, they tendered him, which means it's a $2.4 million cap hit on this tender, and they have a right of first refusal for a qualifying offer.
Yeah.
So, in which I absolutely love. That makes me really happy. I'm pretty sure they retained Brian Johnson as well. They tendered him as well, just to have some competition at that kicker spot, because Joey Sly obviously had that hamstring injury last season, and we saw that kind of screwed us a little bit because we let go of Dustin Hopkins, who just got re-signed and extended by the Chargers, by the way. And then Joey Slye gets injured. We have some good cohesion there. We got some consistency going on with that kicker spot. He gets injured on the kickoff, and then we got to go back to BJ, and it's like, oh, what are we doing here? Some things are going wrong. I loved it when they gave the tender to Joey Slye. I thought they earned it. The kid's got a cannon for a leg. He's like the Carson Wentz of kickers, you could say. So yeah, he's going to be back here next season.
Both have red hair. Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah, both have red hair. Both have a cannon for their leg or their limb that launches the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, dude, at all.
I don't know.
It doesn't. Now let's go to our question from the Commander Viscount. He wants to know, do you think we will bring back DeAndre Carter, or are they lining up Dax Milne to take punt returns?
So it's interesting. There's some very good return men in the draft. I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that they're going to bring back DeAndre Carter. I mean, I would imagine that they got so much out of DeAndre Carter last season, and he flew under the radar. Nobody ever talked about him before preseason. Nobody ever brought him up. No, like I forgot that they signed him at one point, and you have to bring him back. He offered so much. He offered the return game it was dangerous anytime he returned a kick or a punt. And that's so valuable, as you can see. I mean, just in terms of your starting field position. And I would imagine that they would want to get something done soon. Plus, he started to emerge on offense. He had some huge plays on offense. I don't think you can replace him.
Yeah, he did really well on offense, like in surprising aspect with some of those catches that he had. They proved to be very important, especially to win some games. And then having the consistency at that kick returner spot was huge. But that being said, you bring up a great point, Discount, with Dax Milne. That's a cheap option. He was a returner in college at BYU, was very good at it, was one of the best in the nation, very consistent in that aspect. But I would imagine that DeAndre Carter will be back here, but I don't think they'll re-sign him until maybe after the draft. Because let's say they're not able to get a wide receiver in the draft based on how things fall, or how the chips fall, if you may. And maybe they have to adjust there, and then they re-sign DeAndre Carter. But you won't hear any complaining from me if they re-sign DeAndre Carter. The guy was obviously a weapon, not only on special teams, but obviously in the offensive game as well, and that proved to be very crucial.
Right. Not only will you not hear complaining from me, I want them to re-sign DeAndre Carter. Yeah. Like I like DeAndre Carter. He's a cool dude. You know, the guy gets it. He's a cute little thing that just flies and zips around, you know?
I don't think DeAndre Carter would appreciate you calling him cute.
I don't know, Kyle. I think let's not rush to judgments, because I think that you don't know him like that personally. So maybe he would.
That's true. It's a good point.
Probably not.
Our next question on Twitter is from Andrew Lockhart, another UK guy. Oi!
Yeah, oi.
He says, hi, guys. I'm a Burgundy Zone question virgin here.
Ooh.
As we know, we now have some serious cap available. Will Ron surprise us and go get Bobby Wagner? Or do you think it will all be spent on extending Terry McLaurin or Montez Sweat or Daron Payne?
Ooh. So first off, I'll be gentle. You know what I'm saying?
You're ridiculous, man.
Okay, just let old dad take over from here. I'll put some rose petals down real fast, light some candles. No, nobody knows how valuable a middle linebacker is more so than Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. That first of all, they were both linebackers in the NFL. Ron Rivera coached Luke Kuechly, and Jack Del Rio coached Ray Lewis at one point. They are aware, and Bobby Wagner's play has fallen off a little bit, but I would imagine that they are like, okay, look, this lines up with a need. We're clearing some cap space. He's going to be perfect for Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. I would hope that they get something done. I do think that there's a chance. I've heard from a couple of people, by a couple of people, I mean one, that I have talked to with some friends in the industry that says that they may be signing a linebacker who has, been an all-pro in the past. And then you look at the free agent list, that's pretty much already it. That's it. And I will send it to you later, Kyle. But so I'm hoping so. I just hope that it hurries up and happens so people can stop tagging him and everything.
Yeah, that surprising you didn't tell me about that, or I'm kind of pissed off that you didn't.
I just figured you would have already talked to the person.
Kind of pissed off about that. It's kind of screwy,
I'll send it to you now.
No, but I do think that because like one thing for me last season watching this defense in particular, Andrew, is I felt that it was a bunch of individuals working to try to learn this system, right? And there wasn't a commanding voice in the middle or like that leader to be able to like get everybody in line, right? To get everybody on the same page. That was on the field. Obviously, coaches can do that, but you can only do so much as a coach. Once you get onto the field, you really need a commanding voice there. And I think Bobby Wagner would easily do that because the cheapest option would be to go down through the draft. Right, but the one thing about the draft is you have to earn the respect of your veteran counterparts. And is that rookie going to be able to command that respect and be able to be good enough to put these guys in position? And that's the one kind of concern that I have by going to the draft for that middle linebacker spot. So if Ron Rivera is eyeing it like using this cap space to go get that middle linebacker to shore up this defense, I absolutely love it. I would sign off on it immediately because I think that the defense would finally be complete in its growth and what it needs to be as a defense. I feel like that is that one spot that is lacking crucially. And then on the flip side of it, if we miss out on Bobby Wagner and maybe he goes to Dallas or whatever, and they extend Terry McLaurin, you won't hear me complaining at all. I've been saying all offseason I want Terry McLaurin to get done, and I understand now why that hasn't happened yet, but I understand that they can extend Terry McLaurin at any time, and his 2022 cap hit can be the same as it is now. It doesn't have to be any changes to it. They can just extend it. So I would absolutely love if they did that as well.
Right. Were we gentle enough? Did that feel as good for you as it did for me?
You're ridiculous. Now the next question is from Paul Murphy in Scotland. Thank you, Paul. Oi!
I'm gonna go grab a towel.
Do you think we will target another tight end in free agency, given that Logan is still recovering from injury and Bates is still developing? And do you think Wentz might benefit from another more experienced guy to link up with at that position, Reed?
So I do think that we are going to address tight end. I'm not sure if we'll do it in free agency, possibly the draft, but it's tough when you only have 6 picks and a lot of positions now that you need to fill. But I mean, there's some interesting guys. There's like a Jelani Woods from Virginia who's 6'7", 260 pounds. He ran a 4.6.
Who's getting coached up by Logan Paulson?
Yeah, Logan. Logan, my best friend. There's also what is that guy's name? Is it something Ogletree? He went to Youngstown State, and his RAS score it's like a 9.99. Like the guy is just for his size, he's that crazy. But I don't see him on any list really ever. But anyway, I do think that they will because if you look at it, Carson Wentz loves his tight ends. Like you said, Logan Thomas, it might not be probably won't be available early on in the season. John Bates is good. Sammis Reyes isn't ready yet. And Ricky Seals-Jones signed with the Giants. So you're going to need to get some form of production from there. You're going to have to bring some people in, or at least one. And I think that they will. I just don't see it being in free agency.
Yeah, I didn't think that free agency was the route that they were going to go. But there was rumors going around that Zach Ertz was high on their radar, be able to sign in free agency, and obviously he got signed to the Arizona Cardinals for like a $10 million deal, which was absolutely insane. I think Zach Ertz is a very quality tight end and very good. He would have been a productive asset for this team. It's just at that price and the position that they're in, I just don't think that was mortgageable. And look, best of luck to the Arizona Cardinals. And Zach Ertz, obviously, he's very productive for them. But I didn't think free agency was where they were going to go. Obviously, Austin Hooper is a guy this fan base was very excited about in the offseason 2 seasons ago. They wanted him badly, but then they signed Logan Thomas, and everyone was like, oh, you're not giving Dwayne any weapons. Yeah. Obviously, they did by Logan Thomas, and Austin Hooper has not really lived up to his expectations in Cleveland.
Not at all. He's already gone.
Right, and so I wouldn't put it past them, but I would more put stock into the draft for a tight end. But the biggest question when I say that is that the lack of draft picks, because you do need depth at multiple positions now in this team, and you took away that 3rd rounder this season, and you already didn't have a 5th. So you're now working with less money, and it's hard for me to be able to see that. But I can understand if they went through free agency because they didn't expect to be able to get a good, serviceable tight end that fits them in the draft.
Right, and that's the other thing. I mean, you take into account they need a wide receiver, they need a linebacker, they need so look, you can make the argument they need 2 safeties if they're going to take somebody to fill like an actual free safety void and somebody to fill the Landon Collins old role. They're going to need a 3rd defensive tackle. They're going to need a cornerback. They could use another playmaker outside of tight end at running back, possibly just in case JD goes down. Obviously, the need for quarterback, a young one. I don't think they're going to take one, but you also now need a backup tackle. You also need some more guys on the interior because you're not sure what you're going to get from Wes Schweitzer and some of these guys. So you could use a backup edge. There's so many places that I don't know where tight end falls on the list, but if you can get that playmaker at tight end, yeah, I think that they will.
And then the last part of your question, Paul, do you think Wentz might benefit from another more experienced guy to link up with at that position? And I don't think so. Obviously he would, and by any stretch, but we didn't think John Bates was John Bates before he got playing time after Logan Thomas's second injury, right? We didn't know until he got that playing time. And based off how he finished the season last season, I don't think you should sit him on the bench and bring in another veteran if Logan Thomas is ready. For those 2 tight end sets, I think John Bates is your perfect tight end too. You're more run heavy, and then you can leak out and be able to catch a football for you, pick up a first down. But he's not Jordan Reed by any stretch. But that's not what you expect out of a tight end too. So I think that just like last season, we wouldn't have known what John Bates was capable of if he didn't get those snaps. Same reason I think that they shouldn't go get that more veteran guy, because John Bates proved himself, and give him more snaps to be able to grow and to be productive in this offense so he can become the tight end that this team needs.
Yeah, and I mean, the first person that really told us anything, remember when John Bates was drafted, everybody was like, that's too high for him. Like, the first person that was like, no, this guy's actually really good, was my best friend and my spiritual leader, Logan Paulson. So shout out to his family.
Yeah,
love that for him.
And John Bates was like the number 1 tight end last season in the NFL in run blocking. So obviously he's very good. He's a productive piece, and he's an asset for this football team. Next question on Twitter is from Commander OC, Orange Crush 92.
There's the GOAT.
This is a fantastic question, Reed. How would you feel about Washington taking an offensive guard / lineman in the first round if they were the best player available?
So, I mean, obviously left tackle is the most important position outside of quarterback. But the thing is, I mean, Charles Leno, so guard, I think that's still too high for a guard. The only way that you take an offensive guard is maybe if you trade back to the end of the first round, you know that there's going to be another playmaker, get an extra second round pick or something like that, you know? But I just think you have too many needs guard. Now, before this Andrew Norwell signing, I was like, okay, well, now you have to make the argument, do we take a guard in round 2? Because what are we going to do now? But now, since we got Norwell, I think we could pump the brakes a little bit. We still need to sign a guard for sure, but I just don't think you can justify taking one at 11 with all these other needs.
Yeah, and I can honestly see this coaching staff saying, look, it's time to put up or shut up, especially with these draft picks like Sadiq Charles being there. You got Keith Ishmael there as well, Wes Schweitzer. So it's like, look, I can understand them saying we got to take money out of the position, but now they got to play, and we got to see what we got. And I could understand if they went down that route. Would I be surprised? Like, how would I feel about it? I'd probably be blown at first glance, just given the fact of the kind of talent that's there at wide receiver that could really help this team offensively this season. Because obviously bringing weapons around Carson is probably the best thing for him, even dating back to his time with the Eagles and with the Colts. Didn't really have a plethora of weapons besides a tight end spot. Playing with those teams. So giving him more weapons, I think, will really increase his productivity with this offense. That would kill me a little bit, but I could understand why they would do it. If you're going best player available, that's the guy. And I felt the same way about Brandon Sheriff after I watched his highlights the next day after we drafted him at the 6th spot. Everyone was complaining, you don't take a guard that high, but he was a mauler. And I understood that this offensive line needed a kind of that tenacity to be brought to them.
Also, he was originally drafted to be a right tackle, right? Remember? Yeah, then Morgan Moses emerged.
Yes, he did.
Kicked him down the list. But yeah, you're right. The only reason they took him is because he had short arms, and everybody's like, he's better at guard. You don't take somebody who's like that high. And it was like, no, this guy will steamroll you.
Yeah, but if I won't be complaining. I won't care at all as long as this guy can step in right away and contribute in the first round. And no disrespect to Jamie Davis, but I just need those rookies to be able to come in and produce, especially given the fact of how thin they are on that offensive line now. You got to be able to come in and be a baller. I wouldn't care that much. Now, the next question from Commander OC. Will Ron Rivera really be inclined to trade back, or do you think he will take what's there at 11?
I think he is aware of the holes on this roster. I think that ideally, I think that that's their perfect scenarios. They would trade back and try to recoup what they traded for Wentz. But yeah, so I think I do think Rivera would like to trade back, because he can get there's some good players from rounds like 2 to 3 in this draft that, I mean, would probably be drafted higher if they were in other drafts. It's not that this draft is particularly deep. It's just that the positions are deep. Like, I mean, you look at wide receiver, you look at edge rusher, left tackles deep early on, corner. There's a lot of good corners. So it's very interesting. And I do think that they would like to address some of these important positions by trading back. I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you would love to be able to trade back, especially given the fact that how many draft picks do they have, right? Giving away the 3rd, not having a 5th before. A lot of depth issues here. You need as many draft picks as possible. But the one issue is it takes 2 to tango, right? And so you got to be able to find a team that's willing to trade up with you. And is there an issue now with how Washington is being considered around the league with agents and GMs, with this Brandon Bean and Matt Ioannidis' agent giving him issues. It's a bad feeling there. Maybe that does have repercussions to if they want to trade back at all. I don't think it will, because you should always be trying to get better. And if a team wants a player there, you're going to trade with a team to be able to go get him regardless. And I'm like, oh, I don't like him, not going to trade him my assets. You're going to want the player. Okay, you're going to want to win. But it's the taking the two to tango. And I think that Ron Rivera understands that, but you can't bank on trading back. And I completely understand that. You have to be able to have a plan A, B, and C just in case, because you don't know what's going to happen at that spot. But obviously we would all love for them to be able to trade back, because then it would be more acceptable for those wide receivers to be taken, and they would really fit there. And I think there's a plenty of talent in that wide receiver room that could help this team.
Yeah, that's the argument where it's like if Kyle Hamilton or something falls, I know that you got Bobby McCain, you got Kam Curl. But at the same time, I mean, if a Kyle Hamilton falls, and you can still go get a George Pickens, a Christian Watson, your boy Sky Moore, or something in the second round, I think that's a pretty good start to the draft, in my opinion. I mean, that would be awesome. But
and now the last question for this episode is from our guy Scott Hartley. He started the day out with the questions. His question for tonight: with the moves made to create cap space, he
had two questions, so I want you to ask the next one too.
Who do you want to see the Commanders sign in free agency of those left?
Oh, see, that's where you look around. Like, I want to say Bobby Wagner, even Tyrann Mathieu right now, I would totally take. But I would just, with the way that we've signed players over the last 2 seasons and being able to work the bargain bin the way that we have, if we signed just anybody right now, we've only signed Andrew Norwell. The only team that hasn't signed an outside free agent is the Dallas Cowboys. But so we've only signed one person. If we just bringing in some depth, anybody who can come in and compete or make that room better. But it's got, in my opinion, it almost has to be a linebacker. Like we need an inside linebacker, which will free up Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb to go do what they got to do. But there's still some good talent out there. There really is. You just got to find it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, obviously we would all love Bobby Wagner. It's the first one that comes up. Middle linebackers a need for this team. The other name that comes up for me in this free agency is Dante Jackson, the cornerback from Carolina. He's 26 years old. Past 2 seasons, he gave up a passer rating when targeted 79.2 and 86.5 in 2020 and 2021. So obviously he's very productive, and going against these wide receivers in this division with these quarterbacks that are here, you're going to need to have a plethora of corners. And no disrespect to Benjamin St. Juste, who they just drafted last season and stuff like that. You need to get better at corner, and getting a guy like Dante Jackson, who you have a history with, obviously being with Carolina and everything, adding him in here would help out a lot with this coaching staff and with this team, and I would absolutely love it. The other name that comes to mind for me is like Kassir White, the linebacker from the Chargers. He plays like outside. He does a lot of things.
Is it Kassir or is it Kaiser?
Oh, is that what I said? Kassir. It's probably Kassir.
Is it Kassir?
Yeah.
No, you said Kassir. I was wondering if I've always called him Kaiser. I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. But the other name that's more realistic, Scott, that probably is coming to mind is Starlo Tulele. The defensive tackle just got released by the Bills, probably because they did re-sign Tim Settle. He also has not a reputation, but he has experience with this coaching staff in Carolina as well. Ongoing theme here with Carolina and Washington. So I wouldn't be mad at all if they went and signed Starlo Tulele, because he'll be able to come in and be depth for this defensive line. Obviously, losing Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis, he'd be very cheap as well.
And he's got a relationship with Ron already. I mean, from their days in Carolina. So as long as you're a former Panther, you can usually come here pretty easy. But so I was just looking at White's Wikipedia page, because I was like, I got to figure out how to pronounce it, and I still haven't found out. But I did find out. I did not know that he's Kevin White's brother.
Yeah, I saw that he went to West Virginia.
Yeah, he went to Josh Francis, and him both went to Lackawanna and West Virginia. Josh Francis went there too. You remember him?
Yeah, you ever seen that documentary, The Wild Whites of West Virginia?
Yeah, actually, I watched that maybe like a year ago. Oh my god,
they
are
insane.
Wild,
dude! Was it
shaking
crazy?
Pill bottles and stuff?
Dude,
and they're like, that's a redneck mating call.
Remember when they rolled up to the McDonald's after she got out of the hospital? She's like telling the lady in the drive-thru, she's like, "They took my baby." That was the craziest
her
thing.
baby got it. They act like it's just normal, and they're like sitting there doing lines of OxyContin, and they're like, nah, it's cool, man, we're good, we run this town, and it's like, okay, but ew.
That's not the whites that we were just talking about. With
no, not those whites.
Yeah,
we're talking like a me type of white, like that. You know.
No, but the last question you had is from Andy Burrows in the UK.
Andy, is this the one about a finger?
Can Mike Reed get in as much Cockney slang as possible tonight? My question is, are you happy with the weapons that we have on offense if we don't bring anyone else in of worthy note?
Oi, bruv. I'm not. I'd have to pull up the Cockney stuff. But what was the last part? Because I didn't hear it.
Are you happy with the weapons that are on this team right now if they don't add anybody else in the offseason?
No, look, I know if this was last season, we were so excited because we got Curtis Samuel. And we're like, you're not going to be able to stop them. And people forget Curtis Samuel is still a very good player when he's healthy. The only thing is we saw what happened when he wasn't healthy, and who knows what's going to be going forward. You need to get some more weapons. Like you do. Like bringing JD back was huge. And obviously like getting Logan Thomas back will be huge. Getting JD back from injury is going to be huge, but it's just, you need another what you just do in today's NFL. You need more passing weapons, and Curtis Samuel is unreliable. De'Ami Brown, we thought was going to be a very good rookie wide receiver. He struggled a little bit his rookie year. You need weapons around your quarterback, and that'll give Carson Wentz the best chance to succeed.
Yeah, and I'm trying. Oh, here it is. You're absolutely right about that. Would I be happy? Probably not. It'd probably be with it, given the fact that Terry still isn't re-signed, given an extension, and so we don't really know what's going to go on with the future of that wide receiver spot. So if they weren't going to add anybody else, none in the draft or anything like that, I think that is a concern. Without a doubt, I would be highly, highly distraught if they didn't add anything else, because I do think there's talent in this draft in every round that you can be able to bring in and that somebody could be able to come in and contribute.
Yeah, you merchant banker. That's Cockney for wanker.
Now the last one is from Scott Harley. It's the one you wanted so badly. Would you rather have an extra toe or an extra finger?
So originally when I read this question, Scott, I was like, finger for sure. Old mom would be pretty happy about that. You know what I'm saying? But
man.
Now I'm just going to say an extra toe, because how do you hide an extra finger, Scott? I don't want to be that person walking around with 6 fingers. Then you don't even have a middle finger at that point. So you can't voice out your frustration because you have 6. There's none in the middle. What do you do at that point? You know what I mean? So think about that.
Yeah, for me, I'm staying with you, Reed. I'm going with the toe. I'd rather have an extra toe. You'd be able to hide it. But in my line of work, we got to be able to fish inside drywall, get into tight spaces and stuff. And adding an extra finger, that would make things a lot more difficult, and being able to try to find and grab things behind walls, behind studs, and everything like that. Make my life harder.
Right. Plus, like, how do you buy gloves at that point?
Right. Everything would have to be specialized.
Yeah, you can buy socks easy. They don't have their own pockets for toes.
Yeah, that's a great point, Reed. Look at you, man. These out-of-the-box questions you just nail with these very detailed, articulate answers. It's crazy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, there's more wheels in the world than doors.
Right. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the BamBam Kam episode. Thank you to Kam Curl for coming on here and joining us. If you guys, I want to hear back from you guys from these questions that were asked to us. Are you happy with this free agency so far? Are you blown about Eric Flowers and Tim Settle leaving? What do you feel? What is your feeling with Carson Wentz? Do you feel like this team is better off now with Carson Wentz at the helm? We want to hear from you guys. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Reed. Now, make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you guys look in the corner and ding that bell. And we will see you guys next week. I'm just kidding. That's what every YouTuber says. I just thought it'd be tight. I wanted to try to see if it works. Ding that bell.
You did a great job, Reed.
Classic. Sign and subscribe below, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know how you feel about Kyle's finger take.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see. Make sure you guys check us out on Monday. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you again to Kam Curl. That was awesome. All right, everybody. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!